So in 1998, I moved to New York City and started a job as a sixth grade math teacher. Yeah. What I didn't know when I took the job is that the school was really struggling. And the staff spent a lot of time bitching and complaining. We had a very divisive union rep, and things were really hard. And so one day we were upstairs in the hallway as we were kind of talking. It was right before lunch, and none of us really wanted to go down to the lunchroom because that was a pretty toxic place. And all of a sudden, the 8th grade science teacher says, you can eat in my room. We can eat in my room. There's just one rule. No bitching. And we were like, okay, that sounds better than the staff lounge. So we went, and it started a daily routine. Lunch would come, we would go to the 8th grade science classroom, and some people ended up being good with the no bitching. Some people found that they missed the bitching. And it separated out into a small group of people who then had lunch every single day. And we talked about kids, and we talked about the work, and we talked about the things that were challenging us, but we didn't bitch. It was all about things that gave us energy in our job. And through that, we weathered all the other crap that happened that year. We ousted the principal. That's another story. A new principal came in, also another story. And through it all, we had this haven of lunch in the 8th grade science classroom. And I didn't realize it then, but years later, I realized it was really radical. The idea of creating that space and insisting on not bitching and complaining and creating a space where we could talk about our work as professionals was transformative. And those professionals have been my people for the whole rest of my career. So I'm thrilled that we are all here as a community tonight as part of MFA. And I'm gonna pass you off to Megan Roberts, who knows a thing or two about community, because she was that 8th grade science teacher.
Oh, let's go. She's a good storyteller, and I also think we just outed our age a little bit. That's cool. We'll just leave it as the 90s. Those were good times. Sort of. Lots of stories there. So I knew Courtney was going to say something about our history. I think this light is something, huh? I didn't know exactly how it was going to go, so I'll add one thing that I would say. It was a group effort, and I would also say for all of you, we also learned we were freed from not having to bitch, right? And I think that was like something that we were pretty excited to get to learn. I'll just put that as an aside. So now I'm going to tell you a quick story about Courtney that I'm going to figure out how to make about community, because I think that's what I'm supposed to do.
This part I don't know.
Courtney hates it when I tell this story. And we've known each other for like...
No,
it's going to be
Wait
great.
a second.
It'll resonate for everybody's teachers. So Courtney, which you may or may not know, in the 90s, we started teaching together. So we sort of started that journey of first-year teachers together at the same time in the same very small progressive school. And we were both dating and drinking a lot. And Courtney, in good ways. We're both married now, happily. But Courtney was all about the work. She was at work, she was all about the work. And one of the things, I've worked with Courtney in a million ways over the years, in ways that are incredibly refreshing. Courtney's not interested in the stuff that doesn't matter, right? And she has taught me so much about the stuff that does matter. So in the 90s, I'll never forget this day. I think she's blocked it out, but it's something I'm super proud of. So in the 90s, in that day in the office, it was like January, and our payroll secretary wanted us to fill out these things about this stuff, and it was like called TDA or like TRS or like pension or like something. She was not interested. She just knew that like a paycheck came every couple of weeks, and like she did the things she needed to do with that paycheck, but like it was anointment. It was like in her way. So I took her little TDA form and I forged her signature and I made the maximum contribution. Yeah, 18%, right? Tier 4, 18%, the 90s. Exactly, shit, right? She had no idea. She had no idea I did that. And I think I didn't try to not tell her. I know I told her, I was taking care of her. She's my community. But she didn't hear me because it didn't matter to her. She just knew that this thing was coming, this like small blue paycheck that was like oddly shaped and never came at the right time and whatever.
Yeah.
So paycheck. So shoot to like 8 years later. She's married. He's cool. Lots of you know him. His name's David. He cares all about those things that I care about. He loves the paperwork. He loves the health insurance forms and blah, 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 blah. And they were literally at our house, and they were looking into buying their first apartment. And they were just talking finances and like what was reality. And I was like, well, what about your TDA? Yeah, thank you.
What
She had
TDA?
no idea that she had a TDA. And I was like, oh, yes, you do. 18%, 8 years. You can sort of do the math, right? So I like to take credit for Courtney's ability to buy her first house. Her husband gives me that credit to this day. And I think, I say that sort of tongue-in-cheek. It's an incredibly true story, but I think Courtney and I have always figured out how to lean in and like in support of each other and what we needed. And I think like many of you, the work is what we do, but sometimes it's the relationships that you form that make you better at your work and also make you like a better person, or sometimes they don't need to be about the person, but like your community, teaching isn't just about what happens between 8 and 2:55, as we all know. And like I think if you care about the work and you care about the people and you're willing to be vulnerable and also like proud of the things that you do, it shapes who you are. The career shapes you and you shape the career. So words of the wise, contribute to your TDA. And also like find your people, because it can be an isolating job. And while it always has to be about the work, you also need to take care of each other. I think that's what we try to do here. I think that's what you try to do with each other. So that's my story, not told nearly as well, but a cool story nonetheless. I want to just check it out. This is awesome, right? This space is amazing. Wow. Yeah, amazing. A huge thank you to Courtney and Leah and Sarah and Sherry and everybody else who I feel like it's the big joke in the office that somebody's going to Story, like someone's coming here to like prep something for like the past couple of months. A huge shout out to all the teachers from whom you're going to hear tonight, but a huge, huge shout out to the folks who are allowing us to be here, who are supporting us here in this bar. I want to turn it over to them. They're going to say a few words and kick off the night for us. So thanks again. Huge round of applause to everybody who planned this. And I want to turn it over to Aaron and Nissa, who are going to introduce what's going to happen next. So huge shout out.